Initially it was Paget's disease, which is a rare form of cancer, and DCIS leads from that. So it was the DCIS that brought me to do the TROG trial. Ductal carcinoma in situ. So it's basically the cancers in the tubes of your breast, your milk ducts. It's a very rare form of cancer. I'm not sure of the statistics, but of all the women who do get cancer, I think 1 in 10 get DCIS, and it's usually older ladies that are diagnosed. So I was very, very lucky. I found it very early. So I had major surgery, and obviously the DCIS was all part and parcel of the Paget's disease. The Paget's is a precancerous cancer. Does that make sense? I had an inkling a couple of weeks prior to that there was something not quite right, because I'd been tired for quite a while and not my usual enthusiastic self. And I mentioned to my husband that I'd looked on the internet, and he told me not to self-diagnose, which I'm sure we're all guilty of at some point. And I actually saw and read about Paget's disease, but when I was looking at the points that could clarify, I think out of the 10 of however many there were, I think I only ticked 2 boxes. Anyway, long story short, I went to the doctors on the Monday. He sent me to Sydney on the Wednesday, and Thursday I was told I was going to have a double mastectomy. So it was very short time frame, and it was an awful lot to get my head around at that point. But in a way it was a relief too, because I knew there was something wrong, but I just didn't think it was going to be so major. Yeah, it's a funny feeling, because I knew there was something wrong, but you don't want to start being hypochondriac, going to the doctors every 2 minutes. And thank God I'd seen the Paget's disease, and when I went in to see my new doctor, I even changed doctors because I was embarrassed to show the current doctor, because he was such a lovely man and I'd had him for years. I didn't want to show him my boobs, and it sounds really stupid now, but I wanted to see somebody new. And it actually transpired it was my daughter's new friend at school's father, and we've been on holiday with them since, and so we've become good friends. And that's what happens with things like this, you know, you do meet really wonderful people along the way. But yeah, it was a huge shock. And then when I went to the Sydney Breast Clinic, they said to me straight away, you've got Paget's disease. And I thought, oh, well, if I've got that, I'm all right. If I haven't, I'll be all right. But she said, no, you've got cancer as well, breast cancer. So it was a bit of a double whammy. And I'd gone on my own, thinking, oh, I'll be right. And I couldn't even, I parked in Hornsby, and I couldn't remember where I parked the car. I'd gone on the train into Sydney, and I got back, and it took me nearly 2 hours to find the car. I mean, it's funny now. And a girlfriend met me in Sydney to come home, but she couldn't drive because she was under 30. Oh, it was just a comedy of errors, and I literally can't remember getting home. It was just, yeah, strange times. This was in the February, April I had major surgery, and I was in hospital in Sydney for a week. And then it would be July, August, I had 7 weeks of radiation, and that's when I got involved with TROG at that point. I felt nothing could get any worse. You know, everything had been thrown at me, and I thought, okay, I can deal with everything that's thrown at me. If I get cancer again, I can deal with that. You just have to get on with life sometimes. And then as I got into the trial, initially there's a lot of things happening. You're diagnosed, you're seeing lots of medical people, then you're in hospital, then you're having radiation or chemo or chemo. So there's a lot of activity in a short period of time, and then all of a sudden there's nothing. and it's a bit of a shock to the system. So in a sense, it was comforting knowing that I was going to be seeing somebody every 6 months. One, to make sure I'm still on track, but two, to allay any fears as well, because there's lots of questions come up afterwards, and you don't want to go to your own, I didn't want to go to my own doctor every 2 minutes to ask these things. So, and as it transpired, I had another form of cancer in my back, and when I was being checked out for the TROG, she pointed it out to me, and then I was checked and it was cancer. So yet again, being in a trial has been a massive advantage. They just said that I'd be asked lots of questions to find out how I was feeling throughout the course of what was happening. And it was interesting for me looking at the criteria and having to tick boxes, because it made me think, well, how do I really feel? And I felt a bit guilty at times, because I was saying, no, I'm fine, I don't feel anything, you know, this is all, I do feel something, but I don't feel really sick. Should I be on the trial? But then I suppose you need the positive side of what's happening as well. But yeah, there was only one negative thing I would say in all of it, and that was having to come back to the hospital every 6 months, because it's a constant reminder, but the benefits outweigh that. The benefits of being seen every 6 months and knowing that somebody's literally watching you back, outweigh having to come to the hospital every 6 months. So. One of the things that made me want to take part in the trial was two of my friends. I used to sit with them on the bench at basketball, and they were both diagnosed with cancer just a little bit before I was, and neither of them are here anymore. So even though it was different cancer to what I had, I feel I should do something, because I owe something to them, because they're not here anymore and I am. So sorry, it's hard going to a funeral on the Saturday when I was diagnosed the week before. Yeah, and not knowing what the outcome was going to be. That was a hard time. You know, their child was the same age as my child, and that was terrible. That was really hard. But you get through it. You get through it. So all I can say is, if you think there's something wrong, go as soon as possible. Don't put it off. It's just not worth it. You go into the room, they lie you down, they take a few minutes to set all the equipment up and line you up with your tattoos, and then they disappear, and it literally takes seconds, and they put the radiation on the spot that needs to be zapped, and that's it. It's interesting, because it's not so much fear of the unknown, it's just the unknown. And there's a lot of people initially, and I've got 4 tattoos, man. I'm proud of my 4 tattoos, even though they're little dots. So they mark you up in preparation for when you are going to have the treatment. I suppose it's more time consuming than anything else. It's not painful. I didn't find it painful anyway. It's just the travelling backwards and forwards for 7 weeks. It is a long haul, and I found, in a sense, that was harder than the actual surgery side, because with the surgery I was in hospital for the week, and to be honest, I treated it like a health spa. I got that into my head. That was having something that I really wanted to have done, and that was all comfortable. Whereas with the radiation, you've got your normal life that you're leading at that point. But that's when you need good friends, and I had friends with me every single step of the way, so that was brilliant. I was concerned because a few people told me horror stories, as people like to do. You know, oh, you're going to be charcoaled, and you're going to have this happen, and you're going to have that happen. But everybody's individual. And my experience was a fantastic experience, really, really fantastic experience. I think I only had maybe one moment where something happened and I wasn't happy, and I mentioned to the staff and it was resolved, so that was really good. But yeah, it wasn't an uncomfortable period of time. As I say, it was just time consuming more than anything else. But all my friends gave me a party at the end of the time, so we drank a lot of champagne. Part of the radiation treatment, I was warned that it would make my breast tissue swell. So by the end of the day, I don't suffer at all, but by the end of the day I can always tell which side I've had the radiation on, because you can see the line of where my bra's been. But I mean, it's not uncomfortable, and it's just a little bit lumpier than the other side, but they're small things to put up with. I believe that I had so many weeks, and I think it was smaller amounts of radiation treatment, and then towards the end I had a boost, so it was a big zap all in one go. But yeah, I had been asked, I had been told by my surgeon in Sydney to ask for the Canadian method, which apparently is a very short, sharp shock almost treatment. So I wasn't going to be having to travel up and down every day for weeks on end. And when I came and they said it was going to take a period of 7 weeks to complete, I thought, oh gosh, that's a long time. But I'm really pleased now that I did spread it out and I didn't have, because I might have ended up, you know, with different side effects. Yeah. So this at least was spread out, and just a small amount each time. Oh, absolutely. I didn't at any time feel like I was a lab guinea pig or anything along those lines. I just felt I was in really good hands, and it was more about asking questions and finding out where you were at. I think some types of people, it wouldn't suit them. It's not going to suit everybody. Some people maybe don't have time in their lives, or if they're really scared, it's not worth putting yourself through more trauma. But other people who are quite happy, obviously I'm happy to talk. I think other people who are comfortable and I suppose confident in what's happening to them, and that they want to help other people, then it is for them. But you've got to ask you can come out of the trial at any period, and that was always explained to me right along the line, which was a really good thing. But I've never felt I've been part of something that I shouldn't be part of. It's just a natural. As far as I'm concerned, this part of my cancer treatment is part of my cancer treatment. It's nothing extraordinary in one sense, but it is extraordinary in another sense, so if that makes sense. I feel part of whatever's happening, I hope that I can help other people to realise that this is a really good thing to be part of. You know, things come to challenges in life, and it's not what you get, it's how you deal with it. And I think if you can get something out of it, that's the way I look at it anyway. You know, and if it serves well for other people, it's not going to do you any harm to be part of this. It can only do you good. And if people aren't prepared to help, they're not going to evolve. And it's not like they're going to give you anything that's radically different. I suppose in some cases, some people who do have certain types of treatment, they have to have radical treatment. But in this case, it's not radical treatment. And as far as I'm concerned, it was a lesser treatment, but just over a longer period of time, so it balanced out. And I think my body probably accepted the treatment far better than big doses of radiation. I just think, you know, your body can only accept so much at a time, and this way it was the better way to go. I think cancer's going to be on the agenda for a very long time. There's not going to be a miracle one that somebody can wave. But I think if it lessens people's pain and trauma, then that's a good thing, obviously. And if it keeps people with their families for longer, I mean, I think I wouldn't say I live my life to the full more since it happened, because I lived my life to the full, and I always used to say, I suppose quite flippantly, or if I die tomorrow I'll be a happy woman. But now when I say it, I genuinely mean it, because I think life is too short, and if it means that people can be here longer because of some treatment, then go for it. Go for your life.